Sometimes you just want to go where everybody knows your name, and that's right here on the Luke Kelly Show. That's right, I know your name. I researched all the data that I get back from people that listen, so I know your name, where you're listening from, what time you listen at. I'm just kidding. I know none of those things. I do know where people are listening from, but I don't know your names. For some random reason, the Cheers theme song just popped in my head. So that's why I started to sing it. It's how my brain works. It's very, very random. Sometimes I wish I just knew how my brain broke down things and came up with things to just blurt out sometimes. It seems like every single day I have a new song that's stuck in my head. So it's whatever. Brand new song every single day that gets stuck into my head, mostly because of TikTok. TikTok does a great job of jamming one song down your throat for about a month, and then a new song starts catching on, and then you get stuck on that one. So anyway, speaking of music, I didn't like listening to music the other day on the way home from work. I drove home in complete silence. This is something that I do on a fairly regular basis. I'll be in the car. I'll hear music on. I might throw on a podcast for a second. And I just think to myself, I just want complete silence right now. I don't want to hear anything. To me, it's therapeutic. And when I'm sitting in that complete silence, I turn off my brain. I don't know if you've ever done this before, and your brain might work differently, where if you were sitting in complete silence, your brain might start overthinking. My brain doesn't do that. To me, it's a time to disconnect, not have any thought in mind. It's just pure silence, and me enjoying that. It is so therapeutic to me. I don't know what it is. Nora and I went on vacation to Asheville, North Carolina. It was about a 6-hour drive. And on the way home, she started to read a book. And I was like, I'll throw on a podcast maybe here in a little bit. But go ahead, read your book. Don't worry about listening to my podcast in the background. Just worry about reading. 6 hours later, we pull into our driveway. I never once turned on the radio, never once turned on music on Spotify, never listened to a podcast. She looked at me when we got home, and she said, "Did you ever put on any music or podcast on the way home?" I said, "Nope." She's like, "How did you do that? How did you just drive 6 hours without having anything on in the background?" I said, "I don't know. Sometimes I just enjoy doing that." And when we were driving home from North Carolina, there was a lot of beautiful scenery that I was taking in. I grew up in Illinois. So if I ever went driving around the state of Illinois, it was a lot of flat land. And when you go to a different part of the country and you get to experience the beautiful nature that they have, you get to see the mountaintops just rolling and rolling. It's beautiful. It's breathtaking. I didn't want to be caught up in some podcast because that's how it works for me. When I'm listening to a podcast, my attention is fully devoted to that podcast, where I'm hanging on to every single word that they're saying. I'm part of that conversation. And you might break it down that same way. Or if you're listening to music, you might be so in the zone that you actually don't pay attention to anything else around you. You may pay attention to the cars around you, but you may not pay attention to the scenery around you. And that's what I wanted to do on the way home. I wanted to take in everything. It was the first time that I ever went into North Carolina. Second time, okay? I won't want to lie to you. The first time that I was in North Carolina. I had a layover, so that doesn't count. My layover was in Charlotte. I was inside of an airport, never got outside of it, okay? So being in North Carolina and seeing everything, then driving through Tennessee, it's just beautiful. And doing it in silence was just the cherry on top to end the vacation. It made it feel good. Just like the other day when I was on my way home from work. I was like, you know what? I don't need to listen to anything today. I just want to observe everything that's going on, turn my brain off for a second, and take in Louisville. Because it was such a busy week in Louisville. It was the Derby week here. Last week was. And there were so many events going on Thursday from my drive home from work. So many different festivals, so many other parties that were going on as I was driving on I-64 going through downtown Louisville. I'm like, this is so cool. To see the city be so alive for this huge event that brings the world to Louisville. I was like, this is cool. I got to stop and appreciate these moments. And the only way that I could do that is doing it in silence, not having anything else in the car distracting me. Just take it in. I've always been that way, though. I can always make a car ride in complete silence. When I would go to school, when I was in college, I would leave my parents' house after a weekend. There were plenty of times that I would drive back with no music on, without talking to a single person on the phone. And when I was in college, podcasting was just becoming a thing, but it wasn't as popular as it is now. So there wasn't that many options. So sometimes I would just drive, have my window down because my AC would be broken. And I would just be chilling, chillaxing, taking it all in. I love it. If you ever get to experience a car ride with no music on, no podcast on, do it. If you're not an overthinker. If you're someone that can shut their brain off, do it. It is oddly satisfying. And when you find it oddly satisfying, thank me then. Message me on Instagram or Twitter at Luke Kelly Show and say, thank you, Luke. I never knew that I needed that. And when you feel that feeling, you're going to do it more often, and you're going to just enjoy that time. Like this silence right now, you might have enjoyed it. You know, there's a lot of perks to my job. One of the biggest perks is interacting with people. I love it. I really do. There's some days where I work with some people that are a little bit more complicated than others, but for the most part, a lot of my interactions are with very nice people, which makes the day go by really fast. And I like to joke around to kind of set the tone. I like to introduce myself. They introduce themselves, and I try to make some kind of conversation about the day, just very lighthearted. That's how I like to approach it. And then I let them open up to me once I ask them a couple of questions about their day. But I want them to feel like they're sitting down with a friend. And I had a guy that came in, super nice, and he goes, "Hi, I'm here to pick up a phone." I said, "Okay, what's your last name?" And he said, "Savage." And I said, "Oh, like Macho Man Randy Savage?" And he said, "Oh, yeah." And I loved it. I was like, "Thank you, sir. I needed that today." I was like, that just made me laugh. That made my day. And he was like, "I'm glad I can make your day." I mean, he was an older gentleman that just enjoyed life, who wanted to have a great conversation just like I wanted to have a great conversation with this man. But for him to do that, the wrestling fan in me, the sports entertainment fan, whatever the hell you want to call it, just was so excited. It almost made me want to sit down at my desk and talk about the WWE. But I knew he probably wasn't into that. Just Macho Man was such a popular figure. 80s, 90s, such all over the place figure. It didn't matter if you're a wrestling fan or not. You knew who Macho Man Randy Savage was because he bit into a Slim Jim.
Oh, yeah!
Exactly, Macho Man. That's how, if you didn't watch the WWE, WCW, you knew Macho Man from the Slim Jim commercials. And if you didn't know Macho Man from those commercials, he was in Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire. You remember when Tobey Maguire had to wrestle Macho Man? It was pretty funny. Really comical. It was a great scene. Maybe the best scene in all of movies. I'm kidding, of course, about that. But as I was sitting down with Mr. Savage, Mr. Macho Man Randy Savage, R.I.P. to him. But as I was sitting down with this guy, we're just having conversations. I asked him what he was into, what he had going on, and he was like, oh, I'm super excited. Next week, I'm going on vacation. It's one that has been in the works for a long time. Because of COVID, my wife and I haven't been able to go, but we're going on an Alaskan cruise. That's why I'm getting a new phone. I want to be able to take very nice pictures when we're on vacation. I said, oh man, that's such a great idea. I said, are you guys going by yourself? Are you guys going with a group of friends? He said, we're going with a group of friends that we actually met while we were doing some RTVing. He was like, we have an RV, we're outdoors people, and we always meet people whenever we go out on trips. Whether it's RVing, if we go out and take the ATVs out or something like that, we'll always meet someone and build these great friendships up over the course of the years. And he was saying, oh, we're going with these people from Illinois. I said, where about in Illinois? Do you know where Shanahan, Illinois is? Joliet? Said, yes. Yes, sir, I do. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago in a town called Stager. It's a small suburb in the southern part. And he goes, okay. How far away from Joliet? I was like, maybe 40 minutes or so. My wife was born in Aurora. I said, I lived in the Ottawa area for a while. He goes, oh, know some people from Morris? Know some people from Ottawa. I was like, no way. This is such a small world. And this is a part of the job that I really like, is discovering these things with people that you don't know. How you can connect dots with someone that you've never met before. And it might be the smallest of dots ever, because you probably don't know these people, but it's just fascinating. That's why I am enjoying this job that I have. It's so fun to see what people do for a living, to see what they do for hobbies, places that they've been, people that they've met along the way. It's so cool. I don't know why I find it fascinating. I love hearing about someone's story. It could be one of the smallest details, but that's going to be the detail that I take away. Like, there's so many other cool things that guy told me about. I took away the very small part of him saying, oh yeah, about Macho Man, when I was kidding around about that, to him knowing people from Illinois. Another customer that I had a couple of weeks ago, she was telling me that she was having a weekend with her grandchildren. and one of her grandchildren wanted pizza. And the one thing that he wanted was a pineapple pizza. And all he wanted on his pineapple pizza was the crust, sauce, and pineapple. He does not like cheese. Isn't that weird that I took that away from that conversation? The pizza. Sounds like a gross-ass pizza. Nothing that I would want to eat because I love a lot of toppings on my pizzas. I love vegetables. I love meat. I mean, I could honestly probably put every single topping except pineapple and be happy with a pizza. But it's just so fascinating to see the differences of people. Obviously, that lady, a grandmother. That guy's Macho Man Randy Savage, a little bit older in life. He has a ATV. He has an RV. He does all that stuff. I had another customer come in. She was a younger mother, and she had her child with her. And the child was getting a little antsy because sometimes, I don't know if you know this, but if you're ever going to get a new phone, make sure you do a backup on your phone that's really recent because that will make the process a lot quicker. That's just a little pro tip to you, okay? But this mom hadn't backed up her phone in a while. She had, I don't know, kid was probably 3 years old, 3 years old, somewhere in that ballpark. But the kid was starting to get antsy because it's about 45 minutes in. And she just kept getting antsier and antsier as time was going by. And I feel that child's pain. Sometimes I feel antsy when I'm sitting down for a long time. I can't sit down for a long time. As soon as I get done with the customer, I walk around for a little bit. Maybe go make myself a cup of coffee or maybe get myself some more water in my half-gallon jug. And the little kid actually squiggled out of her mother's arms at one point and started to run around the store. Don't want to see that happen, but I understand it's a little kid. They wanted to entertain themselves. They wanted to just let loose on some energy that they had, right? And the mom was sitting there. She was starting to get frustrated because the kid was starting to act up. And she was like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, it's no big deal. They're a kid. This is going to happen. You're here a little bit longer than probably what you thought you were going to be. And I was just trying to de-escalate the situation because I could tell that she was starting to feel uncomfortable. She was starting to feel a little overwhelmed in the whole situation. And so finally, the kid was starting to scream a little bit, and the mom turned around and started to try and get the child to come over to her, and she called the child the wrong name. And I just kind of chuckled a little bit. And she goes, oh, man, that probably makes me look like such a bad mom. I said, no. That actually made me think of when I was a kid and when my mom would get my name wrong. I would taunt her. Probably not the best move to make, but I would taunt her when she would call me the wrong name. Now, if you grew up in a big family, you know about this. Your parents would get your name wrong 80% of the time. 20% of the time, they would get it right the first try. But the funniest thing, when I was a kid, my mom would rattle off all my brothers' names. So she would go, Nick, Mark, Matt, whatever your name is, get over here. Those are my siblings' names. My oldest brother is Ernie. I left his name out. Shouldn't have done that. But, I mean, my mom would yell off every single name. Ernie, Nick, Mark, Matt, whatever your name is, just get over here. Every single time. And I would be like, Mom, you yelled off every single name, and you still didn't even get my name right. She's like, I don't care. Whatever your stupid name is, get over here. And when I was young and brave, and I thought I was so bold, I would be like, oh, yeah? If my name is so stupid, then why would you name me it? That was not a good move. Probably the dumbest thing that I could possibly say was that. I would get in huge trouble. And mostly, this would occur when my mom was cooking dinner because me and my brothers would be getting into some sort of trouble and she would hear us. And then the punishment was we would have to stand right behind her while she was cooking dinner. I shouldn't say stand. We would have to kneel on some hard-ass floor right behind her as she cooked. I'm just thinking about that moment. You might have had a punishment that could have been a little worse that you're thinking about right now. It'd be like, ooh, you got off easy. What was the toughest punishment you ever got as a child? That's one of them. I'm not going to go into any other details because everybody might, oh man, that's bad. You can't do that to children these days. We all know there's differences in parenting these days. There's a lot of stuff you can't do anymore. But I still like to tease my mom about that. She said, no. Why would I say that? I'm like, I don't know. Why would you say that? Why would you say whatever your stupid name is, get over here? I would never say that about you. Like, yes, you did. I remember it. Nope. She denies it all the time. With yesterday being Mother's Day, I should have brought it up to her again. Like, listen here, lady. But, moms deserve a day not to be heckled either. So I didn't want to do that. Love you, Mom. Oh, man. This has been a fun episode. It really has been. I feel like been firing on all cylinders here. Barely have enough time to do the top 3 for the Monday. Told you last week about a dude that I saw in Kroger eat a whole ass bag of Sun Chips and then put them back on the shelves. So today we were going to do the top 3 chips. And I don't even know if one of mine are considered chips. I think they are considered chips because they're in the chip aisle. But let's do it. The top 3 chips, according to me, Luke Kelly. Coming in at number 3, Jay's Potato Chips. I don't know if you've ever heard of this brand. It's based out of Chicago, so sometimes it's a regional find. I found them once in Louisville. But Jay's Potato Chips has the Jay's Hot Stuff. So good. That comes in at number 3 for me. It would honestly come in at number 1 back in my youth. But the older I get, the more I realize I cannot eat a whole bag of hot chips anymore without my stomach hurting for 3 days afterwards. And that's why Jay's Hot Stuffed Potato Chips finds its spot at number 3. Coming in at number 2, Cheetos. Not the Cheetos Crunchy, the Cheetos Puffs. Those are fantastic. I feel like they have the ultimate amount of cheese on them. I could eat a whole bag in one sitting. A giant bag. I'm not talking about the little individual size. I'm talking about the full-ass bag of chips that you would buy for a family. That's what I eat in one sitting because the Puffs, they just go down like candy. And what's really funny, as a kid, I preferred the crunchy Cheetos over the Puffs. And now, being older, for whatever reason, I enjoy the Cheetos Puffs. So coming in at number 1 for the top chip, according to me, you can make up your own list and send it to me at Radio Luke Kelly on Instagram and Twitter if you want to do this. But coming in at number 1 for me is Nacho Cheese Doritos. Those are the OG. Those are fantastic. I could eat a big size bag of those. Since I'm poor and can't afford the real things, most of the time I buy the Aldi version of the Nacho Cheese Doritos, which are a really good chip, by the way. Sometimes those from Aldi are actually better than the Nacho Cheese Doritos. But ultimately, top spot, nacho cheese Doritos. And for Derby Day, Nora and I cooked out a little bit and we bought some chips. And we went to Costco to go buy our hot dog buns because we had a big old package of hot dogs that we bought from Costco and we needed buns for them. So we just went to Costco. I bought the giant size bag of Doritos. I don't know how long those are going to last. Might be a couple of days. I'm only saying a couple of days because a regular big size bag of Doritos I usually eat in one sitting. And I ate a lot of hot dogs today, a little bit more than I thought I would. So over the next couple of days, I will demolish this big Costco size bag of Doritos. And by the way, if you like Doritos, if you like the Ruffles chips, if you like kettle cooked chips, you need to be buying those at a warehouse, either Costco or Sam's, because they're so much cheaper there. This huge ass bag of Doritos I bought was $5.29. A smaller bag, which is considered the big bag at Walmart, Target, Kroger, wherever you do your grocery shopping, it's like $4.29. And this bag is huge. It's, huge. But I'm fat and I like to eat Doritos, so that's why they still won't last long in my house. Oh, man. What a good episode. I loved this one. This was fun. For whatever reason, just got in a groove here. Late on a Saturday night, to me, 10 o'clock. I got to get to bed. Because you know what? If I don't get to bed, and I'm not going to be able to have my 6 o'clock a.m. cup of coffee. I'm kidding. I'll sleep in a little bit later than that. Honestly, my dog dictates on when I wake up. She woke me up at 7:30 this morning. So, no, more like 7:45. And then this is what she did. This is what my dog does every weekend. She knows when it's the weekend. Okay? About 7:45 hit. She got up, asked me to go outside, comes back in, eats her breakfast, goes back to bed. She got the weekend thing figured out. She's got it mastered. I wish I could master life like that. I really do. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of The Luke Kelly Show. I'll talk to you on Wednesday. Peace out.